Hello and thank you for watching the Cardboard Dungeon. My name is Pat, and in this video we're looking at the new M3-A Interceptor content included in the C-ROC Cruiser Huge Ship expansion. The expansion includes one M3-A Interceptor, 4 new unique pilots, and copies of the 2 non-unique pilots from the original M3-A expansion, along with multiple copies of 3 new upgrades and an updated copy of the original M3-A Heavy Sick title card. I've already covered the stats, actions, and upgrade options for the M3-A Interceptor expansion, so I won't go over those again here. If you missed that video, go check it out. The new model included in this expansion has a nicer paint scheme than the original's drab olive green and brown design. The first new pilot is Genesis Red, with a pilot skill of 7 and costing 19 points. He can take an elite upgrade. His ability reads, after you acquire a target lock, assign focus and evade tokens to your ship until you have the same number of each token as the locked ship. While this ability is heavily situational, it's also a lot of fun when you run into multiple action ships like X7 TIE Defenders that often have both focus and evade tokens at the start of combat. At best, it gives Genesis Red matching tokens and a fighting chance going toe-to-toe with much better ships, and it also forces your opponent to consider foregoing taking those tokens, weakening his own ships in order to deny you your ability trigger. Pilot Skill 7 means that Veteran Instincts will bump Genesis Red to 9 and put him in Ace territory, and I like to run him with the Heavy Sick title and Mangler Cannon for a cheap 26-point threat that can't be ignored. Next up is Quinn Jester, costing 18 points and with a pilot skill of 6. He can also take an elite upgrade. Quinn's ability says at the start of the combat phase, you may receive a weapons disabled token to flip one of your discarded torpedo or missile upgrade cards face up. It's a powerful ability that demands careful flying. You'll need to make an attack run and then find a safe path out of combat for the next couple of rounds while you reload your ordnance and set up another attack run. With the Heavy Sick title and cruise missiles, Quinn Jester can deliver multiple, powerful 5-dice attacks over the course of a match for just 23 points. Alger costs 15 points and has a pilot skill of 3. Her ability reads, when attacking or defending, you may spend 1 shield to reroll any number of your dice. It's a risky ability that hurts your own ship in order to get rerolls when you need them. There's a new upgrade included in this expansion that will help mitigate her ability though. The last unique pilot is Sunny Bounder. She's got a pilot skill of 1 and costs 14 points. Her ability says, once per round after you roll dice, if you have the same result on each of your dice, you may add 1 matching result. With the M3A's attack value of 2, this ability is actually pretty good on offense, especially with target lock for rerolls. 2 normal hits from 2 dice isn't super common, but it's not uncommon either. I tested this by rolling 2 dice 20 times, assuming target locks for rerolls, and got double hits 8 times and double crits once. I also got hit crit twice. So from 20 rolls, 8 would have had added a 3rd hit, 2 were double crits, and the rest were primarily 1 hit or hit crit after rerolls. Her ability becomes much more problematic on defense since the M3A rolls 3 green dice, and landing triple evades is super rare, and triple focus is even more rare. Plus, you'd need a focus token to make use of that result, and if you target locked for offense, she probably doesn't have one. Sunny is a fun, cheap pilot who can put out some surprising firepower, and her ability should be used there since it's pretty much a Hail Mary case to have it trigger on defense. There are also copies of Tansari Point Veteran and Cartel Spacer, the 2 non-unique pilots from the M3-A Interceptor expansion, included here. Moving on to the upgrades, Fantasy Flight has included 1 copy of the Heavy Sick Interceptor title, which is also included in the original M3-A expansion. It costs 2 points and adds your choice of cannon, torpedo, or missile upgrade icon to the action bar. This title was upgraded in the official errata to also include the line, increase your hull value by 1, and this card has that change printed on it. I know I've harped on this in the past, but I really have to call out Fantasy Flight on their stinginess with including multiple cards again. The community in general isn't crazy about all of the direct card changes that have been made recently, and many of us would love to see upgraded copies of changed cards be made available in some form. So when they actually do that, as in this case, to include just a single copy seems cheap. Now, maybe their plan is to include this upgraded card in all future printings of the M3-A expansion, but this doesn't help people who already own 5 or 6 of them. Now we've got 6 copies of a new title, C-ROC Interceptor. This card has a point cost of -2, so it makes the ship even cheaper, but at a heavy cost. All damage cards are dealt face up, and you lose the ability to equip modifications. It also lets you treat all bank maneuvers as green, which only affects the Speed 3 banks, since the Speed 1 and 2 are already green. I'm not a huge fan of this title, since it makes an already fragile ship even more fragile. Although with only 2 hull, if you're taking damage, you're most likely destroyed anyway. But there's really not a lot of upside here except the negative point cost. You can bring the cheapest M3-A pilots from a cost of 14 to a 12, and add an inexpensive maneuverable blocker to your list. But that's about the extent of the usefulness for this title. For the same 12 points, you could go with a Benari Pirate Z95 and get a sturdier ship with 1 additional shield if you don't mind losing some mobility and 1 agility. Maybe there's a use for this title that I'm missing, but I think the Heavy Sick title is the more interesting of the 2 by far, with a lot of cool options for ordnance, including the next upgrade, which is a new cannon. Artcaster costs 2 points and is a dual card, which means it's printed on both sides and can be flipped during gameplay. It's restricted to Rebel and Scum ships only, so no Artcaster TIE-D defenders, thankfully. It's a cannon with an attack value of 4 and a range of 1. If the attack hits, you must choose 1 other ship at range 1 of the defender to suffer 1 damage. After making the attack, you must flip the card. The backside is Artcaster Recharging, and says, at the start of combat phase, you may receive a Weapons Disabled token to flip this card. Weapons Disabled token means no attacking during the current round, and the token gets removed in the end phase. This cannon on a Heavy Sick gives you an inexpensive hit-and-run ship that your opponent can't really ignore. The added effect of giving an automatic damage to another ship is great against enemies flying in formation, like a lot of Rebel and Imperialists like to do. However, keep in mind that if there are no enemy ships nearby, it will hit your attacking M3-A too. Still, taking 1 damage in order to deal as many as 4 hits seems like a fair trade, especially when considering the next upgrade. There are 5 copies of this card included. Pulsed Ray Shield is a 2-point modification for Rebel and Scum ships only. It reads, during the end phase, you may receive 1 Ion token to recover 1 shield, up to your shield value. You can equip this card only if your shield value is 1. For the Rebels, this means only the Hawk 290 can use this ship, but Scum have several ships capable of carrying it. In addition to the M3-A and Hawk 290, the Star Viper and Kirax Fighter can also use it. It's an interesting card, and it gives shield regen to some Scum ships that can really use it, at the cost of losing your maneuverability for 1 round. Like Artcaster, you get 5 copies of this upgrade. Okay, that's the M3-A Interceptor content included with the C-ROC Cruiser expansion. It certainly breathes new life into this little ship and presents some fun squad building options for Scum and Villainy. I've run Genesis Red a couple of times and really enjoy flying him, and I think Sunny Bounder could be a lot of fun as well, as long as you're willing to accept that her ability is entirely dependent on your dice rolling luck. Is there anything here that's really worth paying the cost of a huge ship to get, especially for those who don't play epic X-Wing matches? No, probably not. Where the TIE Advanced content and Palpatine and the Imperial Raider, or C-3PO and the Tantive 4 expansions are required cards for some top-tier lists, nothing here is going to make or break your ability to build solid Scum lists. These are fun expanded options for a ship that needed some help, but probably still isn't going to see a whole lot of high-level play. Thanks for watching the Cardboard Dungeons X-Wing ship reviews. See you next time.